Hello and welcome, it's Deltia from DeltiasGaming.com. Finally back with the T3 for Elder Scrolls Online, update 2.0.2. This thing is rocking once again. We went a little different this time with some food and armor, but I got the same results. A really strong tank that can almost survive anything. As you can see in this video and from the stream earlier this week, I really have tested this out to kind of make a self-sustaining, awesome tank that everyone can play. It's fun, easy, and this is for endgame group content PvE. If you're looking for a tank build, kind of lost how to tank in Elder Scrolls Online after the big updates, watch this video. You're gonna love it. We're gonna go over skills, champion points, gear, everything you need to know to make your T3 shine. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about in the T3 is skills. Most of the skills have stayed the same. Some have changed now that tanking's a little bit different in Update 2. So let's talk about the skills. Mostly the same concepts and ideas behind them, especially the passive change though. So we're going to touch on that. So the skills that I go with Hardened Armor. I don't even have this ranked to 4 yet because the new morph, not only does it give you major ward and major resolve, so it's going to increase your spell resistance and armor, but also gives you damage shield. So I really like this morph over the other one because now damage shields are really important combined with the champion points. So the really major buff that we're going to keep on at all times is this one. So that's kind of the only buff you really need to keep up life or death situations. So that's where your magic's going to go primarily, is to make sure this is active. So this has a 20-second duration, so that's pretty good. Plus, you can get it right away. If you're leveling, just starting off, this is a great buff as a tank or anything. Really, it makes you a lot more sturdy. Second ability here is Inner Rage. Yep, Inner Rage. So I took the magic-based morph here on the Undaunted tree. So what this does is basically is a range taunt, 28 meters, uses magic, and increases the chance for the synergy. The synergy actually does a lot of damage, so I like the increased chance of synergy. I did not take the stamina one, and here's why. The stamina is great, but like if you've watched my videos before, if I'm out of stamina, I'm dead, especially as a tank. If I can't dodge, roll, sprint, block, I am no good to anyone. If I run out of magic, so what? So I like to use my magic primarily for taunting, and then that way if I run out of magic, it's okay. Stamina is used for blocking. Now I do use another taunt on the back bar, so I have an option. Range, up close, stamina, magic. Flexibility is key. So that's why I like Inner Rage and the Undaunted. The Undaunted tree levels, you can get it pretty early. Just do dungeons and you'll get it. Third ability, Igneous Shield from Earth and Heart. Gives me a nice big damage shield, and to my allies it also gives me major mending, which boosts the effect of healing for 7 seconds. The real reason I like this is, number one, a damage bubble is great, and also it restores 5% of my stamina every time I use it, and gives me 3 ultimate. Plus, it helps everyone's up weapon damage for 20 seconds. So for this, if I have this active, not only is it a huge damage shield, but basically I helped out my teammates. Now they're protected. Now they're getting increased weapon damage. I regenerated 3 ultimate, and I got back stamina. It's incredible ability. Earth and Heart is really important. The passives alone make it worth taking one ability here. If you're leveling up, go with Stone Fist. You get it right away, and it's a really good stun. So when you're walking around leveling, I love Stone Fist. Fourth ability is from the One-Handed Sword and Shield line. This is a defensive stance. You get it pretty early. What I like about defensive stance is when it's slotted, it increases the amount of damage you can block is increased, plus reduced blocking cost. So everyone generally goes with typical reflective scale, which is really good. And I like this over PvP. But the reason I like this one for PvE specifically is usually I don't need to reflect back 100 projectiles. I just need to reflect back 1. Plus, just having my bar, well, my main bar for blocking, it's really advantageous. So I like this better. I like this morph in particular because the reflecting back will stun the caster. So when you reflect back, like in Veteran Dragonstar Arena, like the last wave, Flame Atronachs, you're going to reflect it back, and they're going to be stunned for a good 4 seconds. That allows you a chance to get some resources back, maybe get a taunt. Your DPS can take it down. I love this morph. Lastly, you gotta have green. Dragon's Blood, come on, it's amazing. Stamina, health, it's just your self-heal, beast mode. You can do this about 3 times with this setup, so you can self-heal for days with green Dragon's Bloods. As long as I have magic, I'm not dying with this thing. Last ability is Ferocious Sleep. Still working on morphing this, but this gives me a 105% damage shield for 6 seconds. At 125 ultimate, it does a couple different things. It closes the gap, it knocks back enemies and stuns them, and then also it's a cheap way to get a flood of resources. Remember, Earth and Heart, Battle Roar. We're going to get some resources back. Plus 105% damage bubble. If I pop that and when I'm in need, bang, I'm not dying for a good few seconds. So I like that. Though there's some better ultimate choices and some different ones if you wanted to go with that. Personally, I love Ferocious Sleep now. Low cost, it just jump right in front of them, and it has no minimum range, so I can do it right up close. That's my bar 1. So pretty much how bar 1 works is I'm going to buff up. Now I'm going to use the longer buff first, defensive stance, hardened armor, taunt, block, bubble. So I got my taunt here. Watch how fast my resources come back. Look at that magic come back. Oh yeah, we're going to get to that in a little bit. So, and if I can't taunt because I run out of magic, I just go back to my back bar, which we're going to talk about now. Oh, sorry, Wolves, I love you. Okay, bar 2 is also Sword and Shield. I like Sword and Shield. You know my videos. I just say if you're gonna be a tank, and that's what I do. So I'm gonna go with the ultimate first, which is Magma Shell. Magma Shell now it's still the same basic God mode for tanks, which you're not dying with this thing going on. But the thing that I like about this morph now is Corrosive Armor ignores armor, but it doesn't have what it used to have, which is the decreased weapon damage. So I went back with this one for the synergy. Synergy 103% bubble. You have to be right on top of me as I do this. So if you're in a group, make sure your players know, hey, I'm about to pop Magma Shell, so they can stack up on you, pop it, they hit the synergy, everyone goes away. But that synergy will save you through really hard fights, and you're not dying if you hit Magma Shell. You, as a tank, you're just not dying. So I love this ultimate. Okay, for number 1 slot here, I go with Extended Chains. People now hate Extended Chains. I still love it because it acts as a leap. So if you can't pull an enemy towards you, you go to them. So it's kind of like a magic-based leap almost because bosses, you can't pull bosses. So it's a good way to open up a fight or close the distance if you're out of range. I like it personally, and still it's really useful in a group. Second ability up, Pierced Armor. You probably want the other morph, actually. The other morph is Ransack, so it's going to increase your armor by a significant amount. I just don't want to change this, so I didn't do that. But you could do this if you want to debuff the opposing enemy significantly. It's your stamina-based taunt. It's cheap. You can use it, but remember, you run out of stamina, you're dead, so don't just go in there YOLO taunting everything. Next ability up is Choking Talons. Yes, didn't go with Burning Talons. Choking Talons, basically, targets talons that are afflicted with minor maim, reducing their damage by 15% for 6 seconds. Wow. So now it has physical damage up front, magic damage with a synergy, and reduces their damage by 6 seconds. That's a significant amount of time. It has a high magic cost for our build. We're not going to spam this all the time, but in an AoE group where everyone's about to die, Choking Talons makes or break your fight. Next ability up, it's kind of an odd one, which is Undaunted, Spiked Bone Shield. Yes, it's 10-second long synergy, a 30% health bubble, and increases melee damage back to the attackers. So, the reason I use this, if I combine both of my bubbles, I mean, I almost have 60% of my life, but the thing is that if I'm about to die, healer's down, I'm completely out of magic, well, guess what? I got Bone Shield. So I can use Bone Shield, my allies get the benefit, now I can even go further and stack up another shield, now I can leap in. You see where I'm going with this? I have a lot of shields. So Bone Shield is kind of a stamina-based, oh crap, we're about to die, click. And 60% bubble for your allies, hitting that synergy. Pretty good. So I really like this. Igneous Weapons. Igneous weapons, you're probably like, why do I have igneous weapons? Realistically, the reason is it's a decent low-cost magic ability that gives me back magic. Or gives me back stamina, I should say. You could go with a couple different things here. You could go with Stone Fist for the stun. In fact, you could increase, gain armor from using Stone Fist with the Minor Resolve. Though I like Obsidian Shard for the range. Either way, I like an Earth and Heart ability. This Eruption isn't bad for the snare and the AoE damage. Something with Earth and Heart. Because, remember, we want to get that ultimate back. We want to be able to spam cast something. And spam cast something to get our stamina back. So I really, really like this. And that's really the skill setup. So on my number one bar, most important thing is use stamina first to buff up, to have that reflect up. Use magic to get this ward. And then use a series of taunts. So let's say if I taunt these group of enemies here, I got a few of them taunted with magic. So if more show up, I'm going to use, like these, I'm going to use my stamina. I'm low on stamina, so I'm going to hit Igneous Weapons. Look at my stam come back. I'm going to hit Dragon's Blood. Now watch how fast it regenerates. Even with 3 people back on me, I'm regenerating it just faster than they can do damage to me. And that's partly due to the gear. Okay, well let's kill these suckers. Bone Shield, Choking Talons. Yeah. Sorry, wolves. Ooh. Okay. So that's kind of the gear setup. And, oh, Magma Armor. Magma Shell. You're not dying when that thing comes up. Let's talk about the gear and what I found to be advantageous moving forward in Update 2.0. I didn't move anywhere. Surprise. Okay, we're going to talk about gear real quick, which is I use Sword and Shield on both bars, and I go 1 5-piece, including jewelry, another 5-piece, and then a 2-piece set. So a couple things you can do. If you're a new player, you're not going to be able to get all the super hop and gear. You can use a combination of His Spark, which is a craftable set. You can also use Seducers, and I know that seems crazy for a tank. I will explain. Something that gives you more dodge chance, more armor, unless you use bulk wear. There's a bunch of different things that you can use. Realistically, resources are your best friend. Armor, resistance, dodge chance, these things are going to be really helpful for you. So what I found to be the most helpful is Seducers. Seducer gives me a lot of magic recovery, but it reduces the magic cost of my abilities by 8%. So the reason I like this is because I do something a little different with my gear and setup. I go with consumables, a surprising one. I actually use the drinks. Increase magicka and stamina recovery by 350 for an hour. So with this drink activated, I have almost 1,500 magicka recover with the Atronach stone. I have 1,100 stamina, but if I use my Dragon's Blood, 1,400. I'm almost at 1,500 magicka back. Now combine that with the passives in the heavy armor tree. Every time I'm getting hit, I get back resources. Now 240 doesn't seem like a lot, but every time they're hitting me, every 4 seconds, I'm getting back these resources, plus my regeneration. It's almost like you're feeding me resources, I can't run out of stuff. So the reason I like Seducers here is the extra ability to cast 1 or 2 more things makes or breaks my build. Because it's magic heavy. It is. I'm using things, I'm using this armor buff, a taunt, and then 2 magic abilities. I'm only really using my stamina for a couple things. So I like that. Now, His Spark's a really good thing that I did a lot of. So you can use His Spark here. Something crafty. You really want a 5-piece bonus. And I think His Spark starting out for leveling is probably the best. The other set I go with is Footmans. You know, no one, people that are, you know, been playing this game PvE, know Footmans. It's incredible. Increased block mitigation by 12%. Block is mitigating. It's your #1 source of defense. Holding block, taking those big hits so your friendlies don't have to. Mitigating this damage is so important. The reason most people use Footman is because it comes with jewelry. So if you can run 2 5-pieces, anything that runs with jewelry, even like a werewolf, you can run this. Clasp of the Dragon, another thing. Anything that has some benefit to your armor, stamina, physical resistance, any health, doesn't matter. Use that. So for footmen, I like reduce cost of bashing, one glyph for that. It's a real big difference, especially taking on a bunch of different mobs. Taking on one boss, it doesn't make a difference, but if you're doing a lot of content like Dragonstar Arena, there's 5-6 things beating on you, you won't run out of stamina anytime soon. I also carry on another backup locket of flame resistance. So if I'm doing Veteran Dragonstar Arena, or I'm doing something else like City of Ash, that extra flame resistance makes a big difference. Flame resistance makes a big difference. Okay. I use stamina recovery on the other one, and then another reduced block cost. You could even go armor here, because if I do my buff, we look here, I'm at 28,000 spell resistance, 26,000 physical. So for me, I think the hard cap is somewhere around 40,000. You could get there, but I'm not a block knight. I like to be able to move around and do things, control the battlefield more so than just blocking one target. And that's my play style. Now, it's not everyone's, not perfect, but it works for me. On my weapons, I went with a bubble, a bubble. So every time I light attack in between attacks, I get this bubble. So that's the kind of gear setup that I run. Now, you're starting out, use crafted sets. They're really good. Tanking is all about mitigating damage, and I run 5 pieces of heavy, 1 medium, 1 light. Reason being is the Undaunted passive here increases your max health, stamina, and magicka by 2% per armor type. So 6%. I'm at what? Almost 30,000 health. Go all into health on attributes, which raises the question here, can you go from DPS to tank with this setup? No. You honestly cannot. You could mix it up, but with the champion system and some of the other things going on in ESO Update 2.0, it's like almost, you got to go full tank or not, in my opinion. Will it change later on? Definitely. But right now, to be an optimal tank, this is the way I see it. Could you go or lower health and magicka and stam? You probably could, but this has been most advantageous for me. So that's my gear sub, not too complex. Remember, you can pull this off without using another craftable set. Let's talk about champion system, where I put my points, because that is pretty important. Oh my god, didn't move anywhere. Okay, champion points. So with the champion points, I do a mix of a bunch of different things, because specifically the blue, the mage, there's not really a whole lot that benefits us, because it's more of a damage dealing thing. But the green, the thief, there's some really cool things that you can get in here. The number one most important thing passive-wise that I go after is Synergizer. I'm a tank. A lot of synergy is going to come on me. You know, Purifying, they're going to be Lightning Flood, there's going to be, I mean, a million different synergies. So I live or die by getting ultimate, using ultimate to get back my resources, and this passive as a tank is vital. It really is. So I split up a couple different things. I go Arcanist and Mooncalf. So I like good magic recovery, good stamina recovery. This right here increases the amount of magic and stamina heavy attacks restore. Not that good for me. Health, I got plenty of health recovery, not worried about it. I dump the rest of my points over here. Reduces the cost of bashing. That is really important because we are bashing a lot, and less stamina cost on anything that we do, the better. Reduce the stamina cost of spells and abilities, and reduce the magic cost of spells and abilities. Even putting a couple points into here will make or break using these abilities, and I like that. Okay, so now the uncomplex one, which is the Atronach. Really, there's only one thing I'm going to go through here, which is Blade Expert. Now, you could go left or right, depending if you wanted to do a magic off build, or a physical damage over here, magic damage over here. The real important passive I like is increasing the damage of your next weapon attack by 30% after blocking a heavy attack. That's pretty good, but repost. While blocking, grant a 15% chance to return damage when you block a melee attack. This actually adds up, especially with Spike Bone Shield, our armor. All these physical attacks return actually add up over time, doing some pretty decent damage. That's a really good 30-point passive. Moving on. So Invigorating Bash. I want to put 10 points in the Steed because it gives you 20% chance to restore health when you bash an enemy. Self-sustaining. This is awesome. You're going to bash all the time, and even 1,000 health doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're not taking a whole lot of damage, 1,000 can keep you alive just a little bit longer. So I like reduced block cost, and then I also like spell resistance. The more reduced block cost points I get, the more I probably should not rely on my jewelry to reduce my block cost. Just need more champion points. Coming over here, spell absorption. This is amazing. If you get hit really, really hard as a tank, we're going to need to self-heal back up. So this gives me a flood of magic, 3,360 magic. Guess what our Dragon Bloods cost? Right around that. So if we get hit hard, we can heal back up. I spread my points in between reducing poison damage, flame damage, and then also damage over time. Give me 10 points in here, and then I move over here. That's where I put the bulk of my points. Bastion. Increases the effect of damage absorbing effects. We use a lot of bubbles, so this is very important. Increases the effect of healing received. Amazing. Super important. And then the armor effectiveness. So, these three things here, I can't put enough points into them. I'm going to rotate in between, what I put most in here. But this is just kind of to buff my armor up. If I, drop a few points from here and throw it over here, I'll play with these back and forth. But at 3,000 points of respec, it does add up. So that's kind of what I found to be most important. And this actually here reduces damage received while resurrecting the player actually is pretty good. Because if like everyone dies and I hit Magma Shell and I go over and res someone, I can live through almost anything and prevent a wipe. And I've done it before on stream. So this actually is an undervalued 10-point passive that I really, really like. And that's how I do my champion points. For those of you that are coming back to ESO, or maybe you're starting a new character and you want to talk about leveling and how you level as a tank, well, it's kind of odd. Really, realistically, if you want to play someone that's really hard to kill and call it a tank, you can. That all you need to do there is wear some heavy armor, some light, and go around and block your face off. But it's going to take really, really, really long to get to endgame because you're just not going to kill that stuff very fast. Now, the two things that you need to aim for is your taunts. So you need sword and shield. There's no way other to be a tank than on sword and shield. Your main job is to mitigate damage, reducing damage of your opponents, getting enemies' attention. Get this ability, number one. Number one priority, you get your 4th skill point, put it in sword and shield. Level that skill line up. You really want to get all the passives here in sword and shield. It makes a huge difference, especially battlefield mobility. Like you can move so fast while holding block, because you're pretty much going to hold block the whole time and just be taunting enemies, walking back and forth. So if you're leveling up, go sword and shield until you get this thing to 50. You can also put a back bar, like you can either use magic, or another thing I like to recommend is dual wield. So if you want to do physical damage, go with dual wield, maybe even two-hander. You want to go magic. I highly recommend using your other bar for some way to kill enemies. It's just too inconvenient to go full tank and level up. You can, it's going to take you a long time. So ironically, most of the skills and abilities that I use for my endgame tank, you can acquire really early. Extended change, really early. Burning Embers, this is actually a really good damage-based ability, low magic cost, and it heals you. So if you're leveling as a tank, I love this. Earth and Heart, or Draconic Power, Hardened Ward, you get it right away. Choking Talons, you get it right away. Green Dragon's Blood, this is a really powerful trait that you can get right away. Earth and Heart is going to be the most important skill line to level. That's right, Earth and Heart. The passive in Earth and Heart, Battle Roar, Mountain's Blessing, Helping Hands are utter game changers. So if you're leveling, stack your bar up with these things and turn in Quest. You want to get this morphed right away, and you want to get Igneous Shields morphed right away. Those are two vastly important abilities. So I would stick Obsidian Shards on your bar from the beginning of the game and just level that puppy out. Get this skill line leveled up, max this passives out, take them. You're also going to want heavy armor. You're going to want a lot of it. Now I wouldn't go all heavy armor pieces. Yes, it looks cool, but it's not that functional for leveling. The reason why is you get your damage from light armor or medium armor. So if medium is physical damage like weapons, light armor is magic. So heavy armor, there's really no boost to the amount of damage you do. So it's going to take a lot longer for you to kill things. But the main passive you want to get is decreasing stamina cost of blocking by 20%. That's if 5 or more pieces. So that's why I recommend wearing just 5 pieces of heavy armor when you get this, and then 2 pieces something else. So if you want more stamina, go 2 pieces of medium. You want more casting, go 2 pieces of light. Once you reach endgame and you get your Undaunted leveled up, which is going to take a long time if you're just starting out, then go 1-and-1 split. But until then, don't worry about it. I would recommend, I would honestly go probably 3 heavy, 3 light and 2 medium the entire game until you get these skill lines leveled up. Taking these passives in Earth and Heart will make or break your character. And then also the #1 most important passive in Draconic Power is additional damage that you can block. This is incredible. Scaled armor as well. 2500 spell resistance. That's insane. Kindling is not going to be so important. That's more like damage-based stuff. But Earth and Heart, go after this right away. And level up your sword and shield. I like to use heroic slash while leveling because taunting, enemies are going to come after you anyways. You don't need to taunt them. So I would swap this in and use defensive stance, maybe invasion to go in. Experiment. You know, try things out. Your 2 ultimates, you get those right away as well. Slot those suckers. You should be good to go. So in recap, if you're leveling, don't worry about true legitimate tanking so much because you're only going to need to taunt when you're in group play. So do something that you can kill stuff with on your back bar and use armor that's conducive for doing damage. It will make your leveling experience a heck of a lot better. Thank you so much for watching this video. You know, I tried to add some more things in here for everyone that likes, you know, these type of builds, but maybe just coming back to the game. Hopefully you like this. I have some highlights on YouTube, or excuse me, Twitch. So if you guys want to see what this looks like in action and that sort of thing, check it out there. I'll put it in the video description. I can't add it to this video because there's like copyrighted music and YouTube won't let me download it, so I can't do that. But if you want to see it in action, it's just best to go there. Otherwise, it's just too hard for me to narrate and effectively tank without a group just catering to my every will. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe. And yes, T3 is rocking Update 2.